Today, we're going to tackle a huge question, maybe one of the most important financial puzzles you'll ever face. How do you turn a lifetime of saving into a lifetime of income? It's a big one, so let's break it down.
Think about it. For 40 years, your mission was simple. Save, 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 grow that nest egg. But the day you clock out for the last time, the entire game flips on its head. Suddenly, the question isn't, how do I grow it, but how do I make this thing last, possibly for 30 years or more?
And hey, if you think this sounds tricky, you're in good company. A Nobel Prize winner, William Sharpe, literally called this the nastiest, hardest problem he's ever looked at in finance. And why? Well, because the stakes are incredibly high and you're trying to plan for a future full of unknowns.
Okay, so to really get why this is so nasty, you've got to understand the two totally different worlds of your financial life.
See, your whole career you were in the accumulation phase. It's like climbing a mountain. Your goal is to get to the top. Just maximize those returns. Market drops, no big deal. You've got time to recover. But retirement? That's the decumulation phase. That's the careful journey back down the mountain. The goal isn't growth anymore. It's creating a reliable paycheck for yourself. So decumulation is just the fancy word for spending your money in a really smart, sustainable way. But, and this is a big but, this whole process has a hidden trap that can completely derail an otherwise solid retirement plan. And that hidden danger, that trap, has a name. It's called sequence of returns risk. Honestly, it might be the single biggest threat you'll face as a new retiree. So what is it? It means that once you start taking money out of your accounts, the order of your investment returns suddenly matters a lot. Getting hit with a bad market in your first year or two of retirement is so much more dangerous than getting hit with one 10 years in.
Let's make this real. Imagine two friends. They both retire on the same day with the same $1 million portfolio. They both withdraw the exact same amount every year. And get this, over the next 20 years, they even get the exact same average return. The only difference? The order or sequence of those returns.
Just look at this. It's staggering. Retiree A gets lucky with a great market early on. After 17 years, she's doing great, her portfolio has actually grown, but retiree B, he had the bad luck of retiring right into a bear market. And even though his good years came later, it was too late, he ran out of money completely. Same savings, same withdrawals, same average returns, but a totally catastrophic difference.
And that's the lesson here. The second you flip that switch from saving to spending, the timing of good and bad markets becomes absolutely everything. That, right there, is sequence risk.
Okay, so that was the scary part. The good news? You are not helpless against this. There are strategies, kind of like playbooks, that are designed to help you navigate this and make sure your money lasts. Now, the most famous of these is probably the 4% rule. You've likely heard of it. It came about in the 90s and for a long time was considered the gold standard, though, people are definitely debating it more these days.
So how does it work? It's pretty simple. You take your starting portfolio, let's say it's $1 million, and you withdraw 4% in year one. That's $40,000. From then on, you ignore the market and just give yourself a cost of living raise on that dollar amount each year. The great thing about the 4% rule is that it's simple and it gives you a predictable income, which is comforting. The downside? Well, it was based on historical data, and the future might not look like the past. But the bigger issue is that it's rigid. It tells you to keep taking out the same amount of money even if the market just crashed, which is exactly what feeds sequence of returns risk.
Now, an alternative is the fixed percentage strategy. Instead of a fixed dollar amount, you withdraw a fixed percentage of whatever your portfolio is worth each year. So the trade-off is pretty obvious. Your income isn't stable anymore, it goes up and down with the market. But the huge advantage here, it automatically forces you to pull back and spend less during a downturn, which acts as a natural defense against that sequence risk.
All right, but for those who want a more hands-on approach that's specifically built to combat sequence risk, there's something called the bucket strategy. The whole idea is to segment your money based on when you're going to need it. So, you have bucket number 1. This is your cash, your right-now money for the next year or two. Bucket 2 is your medium-term money, maybe in bonds, for the next several years. And bucket 3, that's your long-term growth engine, stocks you don't plan on touching for a decade or more. And here's the genius of how it works. You live off the cash in bucket 1. This lets your other investments do their thing without being disturbed. Then, every so often, you sell from your stable bucket 2 to refill your cash bucket. And only when the stock market is having a good year do you skim some profits from your growth bucket, number 3, to refill bucket number 2.
See the goal? It's so simple but so powerful. You're creating a buffer zone that ensures you never, ever have to sell your stocks when they're down just to pay for groceries.
You're tackling sequence of returns risk head-on.
So, we've talked about the big risk, and we've looked at a few strategies. Now, how do you pull this all together into a practical plan?
Well, one of the smartest ways to think about this is to split your expenses into needs and wants. Try to cover all your essential needs, your mortgage, utilities, food, healthcare, with guaranteed income sources like Social Security and pensions. Think of that as your safety net. Then you can use your investment portfolio to fund all the wants, the fun stuff like travel, hobbies, and spoiling the grandkids. That way, if the market has a bad year, you're only cutting back on the fun stuff, not the essentials.
Because at the end of the day, a successful retirement isn't just about the number in your account. It's about having a smart plan, a decumulation strategy to turn that pile of money into a paycheck that you can count on for life.
So I'll just leave you with this one question to think about. Is your retirement plan built for the journey of saving, or is it truly ready for the destination of spending?